real men are not afraid of being disliked. And what really makes me think of this is I got on TikTok recently, and I used to get on lives quite often, just join up, have discussions. I like to hear the other side. And a lot of times when I get on TikTok, I hear people with very different perspectives and opinions. And the other day I got on there and I went up on this old lady's live, and she was making an argument that a woman's past does not matter. And her argument was, oh, a real man doesn't care about that. He's secure in himself. He's not insecure. He actually likes women. And you know, that whole reign of, oh, if you're concerned about a woman's past, if you care what she wears, you're misogynistic, you hate women, and all this other goofy stuff. And, you know, I always see a couple guys join up and they'll side with the woman. They so concerned about pleasing the woman. Some random old lady on TikTok, you know, this old 304, grandma 304, and you so concerned about pleasing her. And I said, a real man isn't concerned what people think about him, as long as he's good with himself. And you know, I think a woman's past does matter, you know. And I told her, like, I think it's just evolution. Like, you know, it's the same reason why women usually tend to like taller guys. I don't want you guys to hate the truth. I want y'all to accept the truth and then do the best you can do with what you have, right? If you're a guy on the shorter end, let's say you're 5'5", then body game is so much more important, because you need to have that look like you're strong, you know. Now, women like guys that have strength, that have nice bodies, that have healthy bodies to a certain extent. You know, a lot of women, they don't like the super roided, big, juicy guys, you know, because if we were in nature, right, if we still had to hunt and gather, that wouldn't be the best body for hunting. That wouldn't be the best physique for that. So women tend to like the very healthy looking physiques. So that would definitely give you advantage on women, because it's kind of hardwired in them to like the bigger, taller, the stronger guys to a certain extent, you know. So that's why I was trying to tell them, like, I'm not calling you insecure because you want a taller man, but you call me insecure because I don't want a woman that's been with everybody, right? And the reason why men probably care about a woman's past is because 500 years ago, you didn't know if that kid was yours, right? Let's say you were talking to a lady and she's sleeping around with everybody. When that kid comes out, you don't know if that kid is yours. So I feel like it's hardwired in us to be concerned about a woman's past, you know. And I had one guy up there, there's always a super soft guy that just always trying to side with the woman. And yeah, I used to think like you, that's just being insecure and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, no, that's not being insecure, because if you look at the studies, the women that sleep around more, they're more likely to have kids. They're more likely to have an abortion. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want a woman that has had an abortion. And y'all might be like, damn, Cole, it's the past, it doesn't matter. But when you do your research, okay, she might have got the kid aborted, but that man's DNA is still inside of her. So am I wrong for saying I don't want a woman that has another man's DNA in her? Because they will always say, oh, that's the past, that's the past. No, the DNA is still there inside of her. They say the DNA of a man can stay in that woman for 38 years. It can stay in there for a very long time. So why would I want to get with this woman that got the DNA of another man? But they will call me insecure. They would say, oh, a real man wouldn't care. Lady, you're an old 304. And you here telling people, oh, this is what a real man would do. You don't know a real man. You don't even have a man in your life. And then another woman that talks on TikTok. We're not going to say her name because her name doesn't matter, but TikTok is a wicked place. I'll tell you guys that right now. The other lady, been divorced a couple times, and she's married now. She's like, oh, we don't have any arguments. He doesn't care about my past. He never asked about my past. This lady used to be a stripper. And the guy she's married to used to be a trick. Probably still is a trick. And she's on TikTok giving advice to women. I'm like, why are people listening to this? Because a lot of these people, they can't admit when they were wrong. These women can't look back at when they was in their early 20s, in their teenage years, and say, maybe I shouldn't have slept with so many guys, so many random guys. I just gave out my body like it meant nothing, because it meant nothing to me. And I probably went through some trauma. She probably went through a lot of stuff, being a stripper, dancing on that pole, sleeping with guys for the right price. She probably went through a lot of stuff, you know? But she can't be honest with herself. And this is what you see all the time. Most people are coping. Most people aren't keeping it real with themselves. You know, I try to really take a step back and look at myself and just say, the way I'm living, am I proud about it? What can I be doing better? You know, for a very long time, I told you guys, like, I would use the whole self-improvement journey as reasons not to talk to women because that was a fear of mine. I was scared to go and talk to a woman, you know? And then I caught myself watching pornography every night. Like, I had to keep it real with myself, but a lot of these people, they don't keep it real with themselves. They're hurt, and then they try to push their hurt, their backwards way of thinking on everybody else. And this the thing, like, sometimes I say, man, I was talking crazy. But it's not that I'm talking crazy, it's we live in a crazy world. So I'm just speaking truth. But the truth sounds crazy when you're talking to a whole bunch of people that are upside down. You know, these people don't know their left from their right. So that's what I realized, man. When you a real man, they try to tell you what a real man is. How is a old raggedy lady that can't keep a man gonna tell us what a real man is? How is a woman that's been stripping her whole life gonna tell us what a real man is when she dealt with these low life tricks her whole life? She dealt with men that just paid for coochie their whole life. To me, that's not a real man. And I always tell you guys, I'm so against paying for box. I'm so against it. And I told guys, like, the guys that came in my comment section talking about, oh, I'll just pay for it. Dog, my content's not for you. We are two different type of men. If you're proud to pay for box, maybe you paid for box in the past. You're like, look, Cole, I was down bad. I know it's not right, but I did it. But don't come on my video talking about, oh, I'll gladly do it again. I'm glad I'm not dealing with women. Because you can't take a step back and look at yourself and say, why don't I have a meaningful relationship with any women in my life? Because yes, most of these women are trash. The culture is trash. But there's men out here with good women. So why can't you be one of them? You know, but they will try to shame you. They will talk down to you for having preferences, for having standards. Especially these people on TikTok, man. I don't, sometimes I'm like, I don't need to get on TikTok anymore. But I try to look at, you know, have conversations with different views. But a lot of times, man, they not even having a discussion for real. They want people to hear their side. And then as soon as you start talking, they cut you off, they kick you. It's like, come on. Let me at least finish my point. It gets kind of aggravating, honestly, because a lot of these people are just so childish, man. And, you know, you would think with old age would come maturity and wisdom. But a lot of these people, you know, this lady probably 50, 60 years old. And, you know, grandma 304, she looked like she doesn't have any wisdom at all. You know, and like I always tell you guys, the hurt people a lot of times are the loudest. You know, so they can't keep it real with themselves. You know, they don't have any kids. She don't have any grandkids. She don't have anybody that's going to look after her in her old age. And she can't admit that she was wrong, that she made bad decisions throughout her life. She's just going to go and get that dog, and that's her kid. That's her little baby. But see, when I look at my grandma is the complete opposite of women like this. You know, my grandma, she's nice, she's sweet. Never heard her cuss before. Always ready to serve. Always respectful. And that's why she has a man to, you know what I'm saying? That's why she has grandkids that care about her. That's why they have a big family that really cares about her. But don't let these women tell you, oh, this is what a real man is. Because a real man is going to stand on what he really believes in. That's what a real man is. He's going to stand on what he really believes in. He's not going to get swayed by people. And that's not me saying you shouldn't be open to other people's opinions and stuff like that. But if you really feel strongly about something, and I think most men can agree on this, like most men care about a woman's past. You know, I'm not extreme, like, oh, she got to be a virgin and stuff like that. I know that's not realistic. But I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, I don't care what she did. She picking me now. It's like, you're going to deal with a lot of shit. If that woman dealt with a lot of men, you probably going to deal with a lot of shit. She probably done been drugged through the mud a couple times. You see her habits. You see the way she thinks, and you think she's going to be a solid woman when she been bouncing here, there, everywhere for the past 20 years? Now you think she's going to come find you and be a solid woman? You think she's going to listen when she done built all these negative habits of attaching, detaching, attaching, detaching, attaching, detaching to all these different men? Now you think she's going to come to you and be a solid woman? And if you don't want that woman, now you're insecure. If you're concerned about how she lived her life in the past, now you're insecure. You should accept that woman if she was a stripper. You should accept that woman if she used to sell her body. That's her past. It doesn't matter anymore. But these women can have so many standards of how tall you are, how much money you make, how big your package is. They will have all these standards, but oh, well, that's still you now, so that's okay. Stand on what you believe in, man. I tell you guys this all the time. In America, we live in a backwards society, so most of these women are trash. Most of these women are not long-term women. So you might have to shoot your shot, but this is the thing. You have to stay true to yourself. When you meet that woman and you know she's not long-term, don't try to put her in long-term. When you meet that woman and she's trying to put you in the friend zone, move on. Because a lot of you guys talk about dating like it's so stressful because you allow it to be stressful. If she's not messing with you, move on. Shoot your shot with the next woman. Because a lot of times, and this happened recently with me, man. I approached this girl at the gym. I had my eye on Shawty for a minute. Shawty super bad. But I pushed up on her, spark up a conversation, and then, 15, 20 seconds later, I'm like, well, you got an Instagram? And she's like, no, I don't really use social media. I said, well, what do you use? She said, iMessage. I was like, well, you should let me get your number. And she's like, oh, I don't give my number out like that. She's like, I done had some weird situations or something like that with guys. And I was like, what does that have to do with me? I'm like, what that got to do with me? I'm like, don't let guys from your past dictate what you do now. She's like, no, that's how it is. She's like, I'm like, so how am I supposed to get to know you if I don't have your number? She's like, you can just talk to me when I'm at the gym. And it's like, Shawty just friend zoning me. But see, a lot of guys in that situation have been like, oh, I still have a chance. I'm like, nah, Shawty not interested like that. Even though she got the biggest smile on her face when I'm talking to her, like, no, she playing games. She's not actually interested like that. She just wants guys that she finds attractive to be talking to her when she's at the gym. She just wants to have small talk. She just wants to have little buddies she can get validation and attention from. So if I went and pursued this woman, it might stress me out because I keep putting all this time and energy into her. But before I put time and energy into her, I'm saying, is this woman really feeling me? Is this even worth any more investment? No, it's not. If I ask for her number and she says no, but we can talk when we're at the gym, like, no, girl, you don't mess with me like that. But a lot of you guys, you'll see the pretty face, you'll see that body be on point, and then you keep pursuing that woman even though she's not picking you, even though she's not messing with you. So now you trying to convince this woman to like you, and that's when it gets stressful. When you're trying to impress them, you're trying to prove yourself to this woman. That's when it's going to get stressful, and that's when you feel like you don't waste all this time and dating is not worth it because you've been dealing with women that don't want to deal with you. They just want to deal with you for validation. They just want to deal with you for attention. And there's a lot of women out here like that. Like I said, to me, I done said it a couple times, man. My experience, a lot of light-skinned chicks. I went on a date with a light-skinned girl the other day. It went really well, honestly. She had some hot takes, and I really got to roll back on the feminist thing because a lot of these women say they feminists, but they really aren't extreme with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, chicks be saying they feminists, like, oh, I just support women, but a lot of the stuff going on now is goofy. Even Mac and Cheese Girl, like, she said she was a feminist, but I look at some of the stuff she says, I'm like, you ain't really like that. Like, you ain't like the feminist type, But yeah, man, don't waste your time on women that aren't really into you, man. Like I said before, a lot of times the prettiest girls, they're gonna try to use guys for attention. Absolutely, man. You see it all the time. They have all these guy friends, all these guys they're talking to. Like, stop wasting your time, man. If you make your intentions clear, like, look, I'm trying to get to know you, get my phone number out like that. Like, Shawty not interested. Move on to the next. Stop trying to convince people to be in your life. Stop trying to convince, friends, family, girls to be in your life. If they seem like they don't want to be there, keep it pushing, keep it moving, man. And as a man, you really gotta focus on what's important, man. And this is why I always try to tell you, like, focus on the 80-90%. A lot of times y'all focus on the little shit, the shit that really doesn't matter. Y'all worried about, oh, looks maxing, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, and it's like, you're not even in shape. Focus on getting in shape. You focus on, oh, should I get an earring, should I do this, should I do that? You focus on like 10,000 different things. Focus on the 80-90% of the thing that's gonna move you forward. We get too distracted in today's society. You got 1,000 different things going on. Focus on what's gonna move you forward. Ask yourself, is that woman gonna help me move forward? Ask yourself, are your standards or the stuff you want in a woman doesn't make sense. You know, like these women online, these old ran through 304s, 304 grandma. She over here trying to, oh, you're insecure. Like, who are you, lady? What have you done? Where's your husband at? Where are your kids at? You know? And that's the dangerous thing. And I know I'll get a lot of criticism, you know, because I'm younger. But it's like, dog, I'm very critical on myself. And I think that's something that's really missing in today's world. A lot of people, they're critical on everybody else, but they're not critical about themselves. I always look myself in that mirror before I point a finger at anybody else. I'm going to look myself in that mirror first. And that's what I encourage you guys to do. Be critical on yourself, you know. Still enjoy life. You know, don't overdo it. But be harsh on yourself sometimes, man. You know, because a lot of time we try to find the easy way out. And I think that's part of our nature too. That's part of human nature too. We always looking for comfort, you know, because 500 years ago, everything was more about survival. But we don't live in those type of times anymore. So now it's more about thriving. How can you thrive? But like I said, man, a lot of these women, they'll try to fool you. They'll try to tell you what a real man is. A real man is going to keep it real with himself. And that's all I got for y'all today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't. And I'll catch y'all boys in the next one.